1. My company uses a website application to process the complex process flow of two of our product services. Example of complex. Steps A, D, F, J need to happen to move to the next stage, but B, F, J, P can move it too. Rather than developing our own process flow, we use WebServe, an online application that does a good job of handling our complex process flow. But a coworker brought to our attention an error when one of our clients complained of a problem. WebServe can pull reports on our product services that are in various stages of completion. The problem a coworker found was that during stages 4 to 5, a few fields are showing up blank on the report, but still appear on the website. It took us a while to figure out exactly what was going on, as often the product service was at a later stage when we discovered the error. I contacted our account manager at WebServe and informed him in detail of what the problem was, how we found it, what it was doing, with multiple screenshots of both the WebServe site and the generated report. I politely asked if he could have his dev team fix this bug, and when we could get an ETA as to inform our clients. Our WebServe account manager quickly replies back with, "I spoke to our IT team. Turns out these blank fields are from a different data table that no longer gets used when the next stage happens. This blank happens if that task doesn't have all the fields entered when completed. Our system maps a populated field onto WebServe, which is why you see a number there until stage 5 and on happens." I was puzzled. None of what he said made sense. I didn't ask for an explanation of what the problem was. I knew there was a problem because I told him about it. What I asked for is when WebServe would fix this bug. My polite reply went as followed. While I get that explanation, it was basically what I just told you in different words. My team doesn't understand this, and our clients don't as well. If we see a field on the application, I should be able to see it on the report. So I was curious when we could get an ETA for a fix. The next reply by him was truly baffling. "The report pulls one-to-one data during the multiple stage process. It's just not possible to fix a report as there is nothing to fix. This is working as it was designed, as I was told by the dev team." I shook my head in disbelief. Okay. If that's the case, can you tell me why your dev team designed WebServe to display information at stage 4 and remove that very information for stage 4 in the reports? "Because this is not currently possible to update for a one-to-one report. The WebServe app is only populating the previous data before it gets updated. It's not accurate, by the way." Again, my head shook as I replied, okay. Wait, so either the issue is the stage 4 process is not showing accurate information on WebServe and the report is, or vice versa. Either way, that's a bug, don't you agree? Sorry if we got off on the wrong foot, and I don't want to continue arguing semantics at this point. There is a bug on WebServe on either the app or the reporting process. Something that shouldn't be too difficult to fix. If field A is blank, use field B for the report. I know you do this for the WebServe in multiple areas, and do it for the reports for other fields. So what I'm asking is, please provide this same logic on the WebServe app as a reporting service. "This is not a bug, but I agree with you that it is not the ideal process due to the conflicting data. I'll tell you what, I'll submit an enhancement request to our dev team for them to review and prioritize as potential future release. At this time, I can't provide you with an ETA or completion timeline. I'll keep you posted for Q1 2020. I figure at this point he's being defensive because he doesn't want to do work, is taking what I say personally for some unknown reason, or he's got personal issues he's dealing with and is taking it out in our conversation. I take my time and ask compliance to pull up our contract with WebServe. It takes a few days because this isn't a high priority, just a fun project for me. But I find the paragraph dealing directly with the service and how WebServe will take immediate action on bugs and viruses and system down issues. Bugs being the keyword I was looking for. I went online and quoted the part of the Webster's dictionary that pertained to us. An incorrect or unexpected result, or to behave in unintended ways. So I neatly prepared a PDF copy of that sheet in our contract, along with the penalty sheet. I attached it to the following email. Okay, we understand that your dev team needs to review said computer bug for errors and fixes. A future release is understandable, and getting back to us in Q1 of 2020 is just fine. We will just expect a zero balance bill on all invoices until such time as you can make this fix, seeing as the penalties would exceed our billable amount by day 15 of each month. Thank you for your time, and looking forward to hearing back from you in Q1 of next year. The emergency patch email arrived by the next morning, and the issue was fixed within 24 hours of me sending my reply. 2. I was working at a company that, despite being multinational, had a very small staff due to its nature, very specialized medical field. This, plus the constant staff absences from the office due to site and field trips, meant that everyone, at all degrees of seniority, came and went from the head office and mucked in and did whatever needed doing whenever they were there. Eventually, however, it came to the point of needing a dedicated office person for answering the phone, data entry, filing, etc. So the specialist could focus more on the medical work, and a girl was hired. I was away consulting on the site setup when she started, and this is what happened when I came back and met her. I got back in the morning and wasn't planning on working immediately after such a long trip. Instead, I was planning on, as I usually did on Wednesday when I was in the city, picking up my 5-year-old nephew from school and going to the park with him. We were going to drop off some papers and a case full of medical equipment at the office on the way. So I arrive at the office wearing jeans with a child in tow. This is fairly unremarkable. Our job schedule is non-standard, and to accommodate this, drop-ins at all hours in various states of sometimes casual dress are frequent. "Hi, you must be Tiffany. What do you want?" "Just dropping off the equipment case and some paperwork." She doesn't bother to reply, just shrugs toward the back where the case goes. I put the papers on the edge of the desk in order to wrangle the case into its cupboard. "Don't put them there, they don't belong there." "Where would you like them?" "Where would I like them? They're nothing to do with me, just get them out of my way." I'm trying to remember. She has no way of knowing who I am, or my role within the company. Actually, these need to be entered into the computer, so should I just hand them to you, or do you have an in-tray? "How about you do your work and stop trying to slow it onto me? And that child shouldn't be here." My nephew, who has been in the office many times, looks startled at this and a bit upset. "I understand you were taking over in the office." "That's right, and as the manager, I need to tell you that in future, you need to dress appropriately and do the work you're given." Trying real hard to muster up sympathy here. She's new, possibly hasn't realized the jeans and child aren't out of line for a quick drop-off. I summon a smile for a final attempt at making the encounter more pleasant. You know, I never finished introducing myself. "Don't touch anything! Just because your mother," she meant me, "lets you get away with coming in here doesn't mean I'll put up with it. In fact, you can go stand outside." My nephew is confused and distraught at this attack and bursts into tears. No, I don't give a damn if she's new. I've lost all sympathy, and the smile goes. "No, I don't think so." "If you don't like it, you can take it up with the CEO. I'm a close personal friend as well as a manager here, and he's happy for me to run the office as I see fit." "Take it up with the CEO," she says. Malicious compliance time. I know he will be in shortly, so I decide to wait and do just that. Soon he comes in the door. My nephew sees him and yells, "Daddy!" Runs over and gets hugs. "Oh, great, you're back. Have you met Tiffany yet, Tiffany? This is Dr. Grass, my business partner and sister. I hope you've been treating her well." He takes the papers off me and hands them to her. Then he looks closer at his son. "What's wrong, kiddo? Has someone not been nice to you?" "We didn't fire her, she just didn't show up the next day. Don't know what happened to her after that. She never contacted us for a reference." Just a few more details for those who might want them. Everything after seeing Tiffany realized quite how deep a shithole she was in was a bit anticlimactic. Once my nephew had been reassured that he wasn't in trouble, he was over the whole encounter, and really just wanted to go to the park as promised. And I wasn't anxious to upset him again. So when his dad arrived, instead of the boy answering him about someone not being nice to him, I paraphrase since this is about 3.5 years ago, I simply said there had been a misunderstanding about nephew visiting the office, and that Tiffany, my brother, and myself needed to have a chat to clarify office policies, duties, and the like. She may have gone a little paler at this idea. I was deliberately underplaying things due to my nephew's presence and wanted to calm down myself a bit too. She knew that wasn't the end of it by a long shot. My brother knows me fairly well and could read between the lines that 1, something serious was up, and 2, I wanted nephew out of the line of fire before discussing it. So he suggested the 3 of us meet up first thing the next morning, and I chimed in that he had work to do in the office. He could lock up for Tiffany if she would just leave her keys. Him having work to do was fiction, and leaving her keys wasn't about him locking up, and getting them back to her when she comes in tomorrow was never going to happen, we all knew it. But she was out of options, and I was out of poops to give. I was prepared to meet with her, give her a chance to put her case, etc., document what happened, pay her whatever was owed, cross every I and dot every T. Though the outcome was certain, I wanted it all by the book because she wasn't going to even have any grounds to do anything but go away quietly. Or loudly, for all I cared. But she was going away promptly, comprehensively, and permanently. She didn't, however, bother to show up the next morning or tell us she wasn't going to, and that was the last we heard of her. She was only with us 2 weeks, and my brother says her work was okay. To be fair, she does seem to have been polite enough to the very few clients she had any contact with. Perhaps she didn't see them as office rivals. I think her behavior was about establishing an office pecking order, and that's why she was so aggressive and tried hard to inflate her position and importance, despite being so new. How did she misjudge that? It would fit with comments from other staff who met her, some about being pushy and disrupting what was her work. I don't know why she paid out on me in particular, because I was the only woman. There was and is another, but she was on site and Tiffany didn't meet her. Because of the genes and child. Maybe she really did just have a bad day and handled it unacceptably. Douche-level behavior. But if she'd been a polite douche during this one-sided pecking order contest, and apologized after, she might have had a second chance and survived her second week. 3. I work in a hot sauce store in a busy outlet mall. We're a well-liked, locally owned business and have many loyal return customers. But at this particular location, we also get a lot of tourists who are curious about our challenge items, or Hot Ones products. We have a large variety of samples available every day. Literally like 100 hot sauces, 50 plus barbecue and wing sauces just out on the table, and we can pull another 50 plus bottles or so from the fridge if one's open. Every so often, we get people who come into the store and ask to try the hottest sauce. They love jalapenos in their burritos, and have eaten habaneros straight, and they're ready to enter the ring, swallow some sauce, and gain the admiration of a couple friends and bystanders at the cost of a stomachache. We usually try to guide them to the 10th hottest sauce in the store, burn them with it, and move on to something mild or medium suited to their taste. Today, while I was selling items to people who were actually paying for things, a 10 or so year old boy enters the store. I always get wary when children enter the store alone because it is full of glass bottles. They usually dart straight for the shelves and pick something up, but this child came barreling towards me like a bullet. While I make change for the couple buying some sauce, he calls out to me, "Excuse me." I ignore the interruption and continue my conversation with my customers. He parries it again 12 times or so back to back as I thank these people and get them out of the store. Finally, I turn to him. "How can I help you?" Where the fuck are this kid's parents?
"Hey, can I try the hottest sauce in the store?"
Not this shit again. I am not dealing with this. Not with a 10-year-old kid. I explained to him that the hottest sauce on the table is Hellboy Right Hand of Doom. It's spiked with a 6.66 million Scoville extract, and probably, if you're not experienced with this kind of stuff more than just a tiny bit, can really mess up a good part of your day. Take my word for it. I explained to him that he has to be 19 years old to try it and sign a waiver, which is bull, but I'm off in 30 minutes, so fuck this kid. And instead guide him to a tasty fermented habanero that the kid coughs his eyes out on before explaining to me that he could handle the right hand of doom, because his dad eats spicy peppers with him all the time. "Okay," I say, and he leaves, thank God. 15 minutes later, I'm interrupted by another customer, this time a gigantic woman in a blue blouse. She sat next to my sample table like a giant blueberry, blocking up 20% of my floor space.
Excuse me?
Apple doesn't fall far. The customers I'm with are polite and excuse me to speak to her.
You didn't let my son try the sauce!
I explained to her that it has extract in it several hundred times hotter than anything he's ever eaten, and that it can cause him severe discomfort, and that I will not let him try it in my store. I explained that she is free to purchase the sauce and have him try it at home if she so wishes. She explains to me that she married a Mexican man, and that I wouldn't believe the things we ate in New Mexico City, where he grew up. When I ask what they had eaten there, she tells me,
"Things hotter than anything you have in this store."
At this point, her daughter interrupts the conversation. I shit you not.
Excuse me?
What? I'm getting annoyed. I was annoyed from the second I saw the kid, and now he's back 20 minutes later with 3 of him.
Why do you sell Valentina? It's not even a hot sauce.
Jesus Christ, aren't you from Mexico? It says salsa picante on the goddamn bottle. It's $5.50. I'm off at 6. I've had enough. How about this? You can try the sauce, and if it's as mild as you think, I'll let him try it. She agreed and grabbed her sample stick. I reached for the right hand of doom and unscrewed the cap. Its nuclear aroma sending memories of aches to my stomach. As she goes to dip the stick into the sauce, I warn her to only take a small amount. She grins at me and dips the stick all the way into the sauce. Trap card, bitch. She slaps it into her mouth. Immediately, she looks uneasy before she throws herself into pure agony. She is coughing, swinging her head back and forth, trying desperately to speak, but she cannot muster any words. She dropped her sample stick in all the chaos. After a solid few minutes of coughing and dry heaving, she manages a single word.
Water.
I explained to her that water won't help her now. My relief walks through the door just in time to witness the finish. She tells me that the only reason she is coughing is because it went down the wrong pipe. She then immediately vomits into our garbage can. She apologizes for spitting up, like she didn't just rocket launch half a liter of chum into my trash can, and then leaves without saying anything else. I tossed out the trash with a smile on my face, and clocked out. 4. Many years ago, I worked closely with a celebrity on his TV show. It was a first-season show. No one knew who he was when we shot it. But by the time Season 1 had finished airing, he was on his way to fame and stardom. And by Season 2, he was making big bucks. I worked very closely with him, and had a fairly significant job on his show. He could be difficult at times, but overall we got along well. And as we wrapped Season 2, I let him and the rest of the crew know some exciting things. My wife and I were having our first child. Now let's back up a moment. For those of you who haven't had a child themselves, there's this shopping period before the baby is born, where you end up getting all this stuff you need. Crib, blankets, bottles, clothing, and a stroller or two. And while there are plenty of strollers in the $100 to $300 range, at that moment in history the hottest, fanciest stroller was clearly the Bugaboo. This thing was high-tech design, super versatile, lightweight, comfy for baby and parents alike, and it cost upwards of $800. My wife and I marveled at it in the store, and then bought the $200 model, because I'm neither rich nor stupid. With the stroller taken care of, we didn't bother adding another stroller to our registry, which is why it was so surprising when a package was delivered to our home. We opened it up, and there was our very own Bugaboo, the iPhone of strollers. I'm telling you, this thing was amazing. We had to watch a video to really learn how to put it together, but it was so much better than our cheapo stroller, and we were thrilled to have it. It was a gift from the celebrity. A very nice and very surprising gift, because as rich as he was also on the cheap side. I mean, Even years later, he'd call everyone in for a production meeting, order pizzas for everyone, and collect cash from everyone there to split the cost. This is after he'd built his $10 million home. I'm not exaggerating. As many celebrities do, this guy had a personal assistant. It makes sense. Celebs can be legitimately busy all the time, and they need someone trusted to help with the day-to-day. Her name was Jennifer. Or maybe it wasn't. But I'm going to call her that because it's a common name. So even if it is her real name, which it totally is, it won't be a particularly useful clue to figuring out who the celebrity is. Lots of personal assistants out in the world, many of whom are named Jennifer. This Jennifer was great, very cool, and she was smart as hell and great at her job. And eventually she sold a project of her own and gave her notice. It was time for her to leave. By eventually, what I really mean is right as season 2 was wrapping up, and my wife and I were having our baby, and her celebrity boss told her to buy me the nicest stroller they make. He'd never had a kid, so he assumed it'd be maybe $200, and on any other day, when she saw the $800 price tag, she'd have wisely purchased a cheaper model for her cheaper boss. But she had nothing to lose. It was her last week of work. She'd already sold the other project. So she obeyed his request to the last penny, and bought us the nicest stroller you can get. He was pissed when he found out, but by then I'd assembled it and thanked him and, well, he yelled at Jen a bit, but she didn't care. And of course the celebrity never said a word to me, the damage was already done. That bugaboo lasted for both my kids, and when our youngest had outgrown it, I made sure to extend the malicious compliance just a little bit further. I gave it to another former crew member who just had a baby of her own. Her name was also Jennifer. Or was it? His one overpriced gift that he never wanted to buy has done triple duty so far. Maybe one day it'll go to 4. 5. I started a brand new job at a resort somewhere USA. I look at the reviews, and they had some dire warnings. But I worked in some pretty wild places before, so I sign up prepared. I didn't expect to stay for long. I show up for work as a maintenance man. My new boss gives me a tour and a radio. He calls me on this radio. I call him back. I held the button for maybe 3 seconds before I started speaking. He didn't answer. So I called him again. Nothing. Well, later he confronts me and tells me that he hasn't heard me respond on the radio. So I tell him that I called. He told me to hold the button down for 1 second before speaking. From here on out, I knew this would be a long job. Later that day, he calls on the radio again, so I hold the button down for 1 second instead of the 3 I did before. Respond, and I hear this sound, shh, shh, like he just pushed the button down and lifted it without talking. I respond again. Again his radio sounds, shh, shh. We tag back and forth like this for 9 times. He was pissed, but I was already enjoying my first day. Every morning to date, for 4 months now, he gets on his radio and makes the shh, shh sound, like he isn't holding the button down on his radio long enough for his radio to pick up his voice. One of the maintenance guys usually calls on the radio. "Hey boss, were you calling me?" He'll respond, "Shh, shh." So I talk to the night shift worker who I'm supposed to replace. Well, he tells me that over the past 2 years, our beloved boss has bestowed the night position on one man, with increasing amounts of nightly, weekly, and monthly duties. Our dear boss also had the fortune of gifting increasing amounts of projects. Like have one man paint an entire fire truck with 2 coats of paint in one night. Maybe it would be possible to put 1 coat of paint on a fire truck if we didn't have 6 hours of regular duties on an 8-hour shift. However, our boss has some strange sense of time that no one can seem to figure out. So, of course, to compound the radio issue, we painted this truck in the noisy generator room to make it hard to hear the radio. Not that we know who he's calling for in the radio anyway. So then our boss got tired of seeing both of the night shift workers driving around in one golf cart. He told us that we need to split up our duties and drive 2 different golf carts. Now I know for a fact that when we do any regular duty X or project Y, when we both do it, our time gets cut in half. Even if I am fixing a leaky pipe, my partner can save a lot of time fetching parts and tools. I literally time the duties we do both together and apart with my watch, and I know we accomplish the same amount of work either way. So now we both drive 2 golf carts to the same places at the same times. We split fixing pipes into 2 duties, fixing and fetching. We split inspecting fire extinguishers into 2 parts. I look at the height off the ground to look for rust, and he will look to see if it's sealed and has the right pressure. In fact, every task that we do has been broken down such that we work together. Then our boss wanted us to break up our co-workers' parties and employee housing. He wanted us to take pictures of anyone partying at night. He wanted us to patrol the area and look for partiers every night. Now, if you don't know, this is a great way to anger your co-workers. Angry co-workers can make your life miserable at work. So we drive by, wave kindly at the 10 people drinking beer on the deck at 2 AM, and we often chat with them. I usually turn to my co-worker in the second golf cart and ask him, "Hey, does this look like a party to you?" He usually says, "Nope." Then we move on. If we get a noise complaint, we kindly ask the partiers to take it to the employee recreation building. When we take pictures, we smudge some dirt on our cameras and take them from too far away to identify anyone. When our boss asks about the partiers at 2 AM, we will say, "We didn't see them at midnight when we drove by." Anyway, our boss has dreamed up many ingenious ways of shooting himself in the foot, alienating and angering his co-workers, damaging his workers' reputations behind their backs, and much more. But these are just some of the ways his workers unite to maliciously comply. I suppose upper management doesn't want to get rid of him, because few people are willing to do this job. Our boss would love to leave, but no one will hire him elsewhere. He told me this last part directly. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Revenge is Ice Cream, number 30. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Well, it's interesting the things that creep into one's brain. As you know, I've been getting healthier, and I'm continuing on with it. But I'm also getting the urge to bake a cake sneaking up on me. I used to bake all the time. I used to be fairly decent at it. But I haven't for ages, so I keep thinking, come on, you've got everything you need to do it. Well, I don't have everything. I need ingredients. That's so much. I need to get ingredients, but I have the equipment to do it. I've got cake tins that are fairly unused, actually, if I think about it. A whisk and everything, so it's tempting. There may be cake baking. I suppose I could bake it and just give most of it away. I could do that. Maybe attempt another. I did do a red velvet cake years back, and it was more of a rusty brown velvet cake, but it tasted very nice. Well, we'll see. Okay, and with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.